Episode 1 off the bench. Welcome. This is an interview show. This is a little bit different to our usual content, guys. The boys are not here with me today, but we've got a guest in the house, Big Bad Jay. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing well, thank you. How you going?
Yeah, good. Um, Tell me, Jay. Tell me about your relationship with rugby league.
So I'm just a big rugby league fan as
You're
well as a Tigers fan.
You're a junkie.
Yeah, I am, I
like
am a
us.
junkie. I am, yeah. So we grew up with a bunch of sports. Like I'm a big basketball, soccer fan as well. But rugby league's always been
Who's your NBA team?
Boston Celtics. Yeah.
No, you're a Celtics
I'm a
man.
Celtics fan. But like rugby league's always been special for us as a family. I think the first ever game I've ever went to was the St. George Tigers game in 2010.
The
Uh,
semi-final?
Yeah, that one.
Nah.
Yeah. So that was my first game. I was young, but I still remember going to the game, being
At the,
excited.
at the SFS.
Yeah.
So your first game, you went to a semi-final.
Yep.
And if I remember right, the Tigers lost by 2 points.
I believe it was by 2 points. I was young, but I do remember walking up the
Whoa.
steps, going to our seating. I was with my older sister, my dad, and my older brother.
What an experience.
It was a great experience. And then I think the year after that, I'm going to a few games. I don't know if it was that same year, but I went to the Warriors game, the Tigers Warriors game, where we were robbed. Where,
That
the
game.
Warriors
I remember.
was a knock on, but the video ref called it as a back. And,
I
Warriors won that
remember. And
game.
you lost, yeah.
we
That's
did
right.
lose,
Tigers lost.
Yeah.
Why the Tigers? From all the teams, why the Tigers?
It's just my whole family are a big West Tigers supporter. A lot of my first, second cousins, I guess, grew up in that Concord, Strathfield area, as well as my dad growing up in around Lidcombe. So it was just that mix of Balmain Tigers and the Western Magpies fusing. It was perfect for us to go for the West Tigers, within the area.
And who's your favourite player?
Of all time, I got Benji Marshall, obviously, but aside from the Tigers,
Love Benji.
outside from the Tigers, Jonathan Thurston.
Jonathan Thurston.
Love Jonathan Thurston.
Tell me why. Did you play rugby league at school?
I played junior rugby league. I stopped when I was, I think, around under 13s.
Were you a 5'8"?
No, I wasn't a 5'8" at
No?
all. I just loved watching Jonathan Thurston. My older brother was they played footy, my older siblings, and they were very intelligent football players.
Mhm.
And they always used to tell me about Thurston, why he's one of the smartest players they've ever seen. And watching Thurston, you can see that, and how competitive he was, how passionate, and also how humble he was off the field. Small things like when he'll kick the footy tee and he'll give the tee back to the small stuff like that just made me fall in love with Jonathan Thurston.
You know what? He was a special human being in terms of rugby league, and he became a role model.
You were.
In the early days when he played for the Bulldogs, he was, let's say, a bit of a scallywag.
Yeah.
But he grew, and he became beside a future immortal, I believe.
I agree.
Yeah. He became a fantastic human being, and you know what? Between the posts, that's where you become a legend, but your legacy is left by the human being you are and your family, and he's got both. So
It was a great role model.
yeah,
Very great. And it's not a coincidence that the first year he joins Cowboys, they make the grand final in 05.
Isn't that funny?
It's not a coincidence. There's a reason why he's one of the greatest players of all time, in my opinion. He's
Isn't
the player I grew up with. I didn't grow up with Johns or I saw the back end of Lockyer, but Thurston was the one I remember in his prime.
Tell me, when the round is over Sunday night, what's your first thoughts after that?
After the whole round,
Yeah, it's for Sunday night. It's over. You go to bed.
I'm usually disappointed because there's no rugby league till Thursday night.
Same as me.
But I am grateful there's no more Monday night games. They were pain to watch.
Really? I
wasn't
Monday.
a fan. I wasn't a fan. I like
Why?
Thursday nights better.
I like Thursdays, but I love Mondays as well. It's a little present.
That's true. No, that is true. If they were to bring it back, especially if they bring in an 18th team, I wouldn't mind personally. But when I was younger, we used to go to a lot of those Monday night games, and it was bad experiences because it's Monday night.
It was a TV game.
Yeah, it wasn't
else.
yeah.
Tell me, you said you alluded about an 18th team. Which team would you like to see in the competition?
The idea of a team in Papua New Guinea is very interesting. I think it's business-wise, it's very smart to explore the specific island nations and just grow it out from there.
I did. I'm not sure if you heard. I did a bit of a deep dive, and what they actually want is a team in the Pacifica. So a team based in Cairns, but a Pacifica Island team, and they really want Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Hawaii in the Pacifica, and the reason being is they've got this obsession with America. So they believe if they can infiltrate the market and get 1%, just 1% rugby league players from America. Remember, it's a big number. There's a big population. They believe that the pathways and the people coming into the competition will be enormous. So look, Volandi's got a big.
I think he plans for 20 teams
Yeah,
altogether.
he wants 20 teams, 2 conferences.
Okay, similar to American style. Okay,
Yeah,
it's no matter what team he does go for next. I think it's great because you can do another one in Queensland. I think Dolphins are a great example of that. Queensland they love their rugby league. I remember hearing about the Bears want to relocate to Perth, which I think is a good idea.
It's going to happen. Yeah,
moving away, kind of growing outside of New South Wales and Queensland.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are great ideas, to be honest.
I think one in New Zealand as well.
Another one?
I think one New Zealand.
I think we have to wait till Warriors kind of get to that status where they are still struggling to keep their players. I know Union like to snatch all those players.
Well, I think it's the other way around now. I think they're coming back to rugby league.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Tell me, what's your thoughts on this current West Tigers team?
It's hard to kind of see where the problem is. You got many fans saying it's the players. You know, for example, we like to put on Luke Brooks or Dewey or Dwayhe, and you got other people blaming the coach or the board. From my perspective, I think our culture has been terrible for like the last 5-10 years, and that starts from the top, from the different type of coaches we decided to recruit, the players we've been recruiting, like that year where we, for some reason, gave a lot of money to Mbai, Packer, Josh Reynolds. And I feel bad for all the coaches. I thought Madge, like you can see Ivan and Madge, they're good coaches. They've done it elsewhere.
Well, they both won competitions, both or one of them in England and in Australia, and the other one, well, the proof's in the pudding. Ivan probably is at the moment one of the lead coaches in the competition.
Definitely. And it's just the players we've decided to recruit hasn't helped our culture. I think the players, I get the feeling that the players don't even want to be there. To be honest,
what's your thoughts on the current coaching structure?
So I was actually very excited when we announced.
I was too.
I was very excited to hear about Tim Sheens being back, and Benji being in there and kind of taking over the next 2 years. But what's very hard for us Tigers fans is they want us to be patient, and we have no choice but to be patient for the next 2-3 years. Yeah. But it's a bit hard when we haven't made top 8 in the last 11-12 years, and that we've signed these marquee players, Coruscant, Papali'i, and it looks like we've gone downhill. It's the squad, it's our roster. That's the big issue.
Is it the roster?
I think it's the roster, and I think Brooks is a decent player. I think if he goes to Newcastle or another team, I think he'll do well there, but he's doesn't fit in the Tigers anymore, and it's proven because he's been with us for 8-9 years.
You know, I feel for Luke, but he's got to move on.
Yeah, he has to.
He's got to move on
for his sake and the Tigers' sake as well.
And for the Tigers' sake, but for his sake, because we don't want, and he doesn't want his legacy to be what it is now. Borderline a joke.
It is, and coming up, he was meant to be one of the better halves coming up. He was ahead of Moses, Tedesco. They were in that same group.
He got halfback of the year when Ivan was there.
He was, yeah.
So
he was pitched to be greater than Tedesco and Moses, and sadly hasn't gone that way.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure about Luke. All I do know is he needs a fresh start.
He does.
And I think you got rid of the wrong half when you sent the control freak Jackson to Newcastle, because they wanted Luke Brooks. They wanted Luke Brooks, and maybe Luke would have went there and ran a team. For some unknown reason, it just doesn't work for him there at the Tigers.
No, not at all. And I think a lot of it is his fault as well. It could be the coaching. You see all the great halves. the Clearys, the Jerome Hughes, when they're in their attack, the way they hold up the ball, where they straighten themselves and they hit the line, bro, I've never seen Brooks do that ever. And then people say, well, then he's a 5'8", he's a ball running 5'8", but it's an issue at the Tigers because we didn't have a halfback. We got Brendan Wakeham, who I don't rate at all, to be honest with you.
Well, he went well for
He went
10
well.
minutes.
He proved me wrong, but we'll see how he goes in a full game.
Let's see what happens this week, and it's unfair because it was 40 degrees against the Bulldogs.
They were tired. It looked like they were.
Yeah. But also in saying that, they look like a mess. It looks like a big mess. You know what? I have been hammering the Tigers, the players, and the coaching staff, but I'm going to stop because
it's the board. Yeah.
It's the board.
It's the board.
Because the players have changed, the coaches have changed, but the only thing that hasn't changed is Pandelis and what's that other guy?
I'm not too sure. Name.
The CEO and Pandelis. So I think there's questions to be asked there, but
I agree. But then you see these players and you're wearing the jersey. You're going to Leichhardt Oval 2 weeks in a row, and you're putting on a performance and effort like that. It's disappointing. It's
you know what, I keep on bringing this up, but I want to highlight this to people. I go to my father's house. He's an 83-year-old man, and he's a West Tigers tragic. He loves West Tigers. He was part of the Western Suburbs part of the merger, and every week he sits down, and I can see hope in his eyes, and then they dish up the rubbish that they dish up, and he's
embarrassing.
He's disappointed, upset, but you know what? He keeps on coming back for the same punishment every
us Tigers fans every week.
So I feel for him, and I get it. And make no mistake, I'm a Bulldogs fan, and I've had the same thing for the last 5 years. So I'm with you all the way, Jay. I'm with you all the way.
At least you guys are heading in the right direction with Phil Good and Serrato.
Tell me. Last week it was Multicultural Week in the NRL. What does that mean to you and to your family?
Oh no, that was very important and it was very special. We come from a Lebanese background. We lived and grown up in Granville for most of our lives. A lot of Lebanese people there. But seeing players like Karaz just represent us, it's amazing. It's crazy. We've always said we have good players, but for some reason the problem with us Levos is once we hit 18, 19 years old, if we haven't made it yet, that's it, we're tradies. we give up and we're tradies. We have to make money now. But seeing like players like Karaz, who I think he was a Bulldogs junior, went to the Cowboys during the COVID pandemic, didn't go well. Newcastle didn't go well, but he put his head down and kept working hard.
Actually,
and now look at him,
Yeah, actually, what happened was he went to the Cowboys, and then COVID started, so he just came back home because there was no reserve grade or lower grades, and then the selector or the recruiter from the Cowboys went to Newcastle. Then he brought him over. But we had COVID again. Anyway, when he went back, they had cap issues. So they rang up Gus Gould and they said, I've got this kid, you know. And Gus goes, yeah, bring him down. Unsighted, hasn't seen him. Okay. And apparently Gus was at training one day and he saw Karaz just streak, his gangly kid, tall gangly kid, just streak in front of me. And he turns around to someone and goes, who's that? He goes, it's Karaz. He goes, the kid's going to make me look like a genius. So that's
he's a great player. He went to Auburn Trinity as well, so he's like local. I actually versed him a few times in basketball as well.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know he was a footy player at all.
Is he tall?
No, it's outside comp. We played next to Lidcombe Oval. There was a basketball.
Is he a big boy? Is he a tall boy?
He's a tall boy, yeah. He was a good basketball player too. It was decent.
He's very athletic.
He is, yeah. But I never knew he was a footy player until I was looking at the NRL news and I'm seeing he's signing with Cowboys in Newcastle.
Let me tell you about my thoughts on Multicultural Week. And look, now in rugby league, in NRL, the multicultural community are Samoan, Tongans, sure, Lebanese. Back in my day, it was a very, very heavy Anglo-Saxon,
Okay.
so English or Australian.
Even the Western Sydney
Yeah,
players.
believe it or not, it was very, very Anglo-Saxon, and there was us Greeks and Italian.
Yeah.
There wasn't the Polynesian influence. We started the Lebanese started trickling in somewhere there, but they weren't playing rugby league. And make no mistake, if you think that now there's racism, let me tell you, back in the late 70s and the 80s, when 80% were Anglo-Saxon and there was a few Greek and Italians, I'll tell you about racism, but we were a bit different back then, okay? But you know what? Rugby league is an amazing game.
It's beautiful.
And I'll tell you why, Jay, because it equalised me. It made me equal to them. They wouldn't call me Wog anymore because I played rugby league, and because I played for the school team, and it was the rugby league back in those days. The school competitions were very healthy, and we had a lot of competitions. Okay,
was it around this area?
I went to school at Chester Hill High School.
Okay, Chester Hill. Okay,
I went to Chezo, and we didn't have a great team, but it was decent enough.
Yeah.
But it was a very Anglo-Saxon area. Now it's not, I know.
Yeah.
But back then, it was a very Anglo-Saxon area. And I went to a school with about 3 or 4 ethnics, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But rugby league made me equal, or they took me in. So the game is given me more mentally, even back then, than I could never give it back. Beside the enjoyment that I got from it, so I find multicultural, and you know what, the NRL doesn't do enough for the week.
They don't.
I find the multicultural week probably my favourite week from all of them.
Yeah, and I've learnt so much about different types of cultures and learned to appreciate and respect them because of NRL. Because seeing where all of these players are from, hearing their stories, their backgrounds, how tough some of them had, it's eye opening. Learn to appreciate, I guess, what rugby league has done for us, and especially in the western suburbs. You know,
where you know what, we keep on referring to the western suburbs, but it is a unique part of the city. It is,
and I always say, western suburbs is rugby league's town.
Absolutely,
we're rugby league.
Absolutely. I listen to a few podcasts, Super League podcasts from England, and they refer to Western Sydney or Parramatta and Penrith as its own city, and it's the most. They say it's the most amazing place for rugby league in the world, because you can go and see posters because it's not the number one game in England. You can see posters of Carraz or Monster in shopping centres. He goes, so they're in awe of us here in Australia or in Sydney.
And moving it and getting a team around those Polynesian areas will just increase it even more. Getting those recruiting those Hawaiian Americans, like, that'll be amazing as well. Another part of it.
Yeah, I think it's important. The Pacifica. I think it's very important to bring them in. And look, there's a lot of politics involved. I'll leave the politics out of it with China, but I mean, just for straight rugby league, because that's the future.
Yeah,
they're the pathways. We're dwindling in numbers, so
obviously I'm 20 years old, so I'm not old, not young.
No.
But it's when a lot of the sports and basketball, even the Premier League, I see politics is heavily influenced now. I do get a bit frustrated when I see that when that's happening in rugby league as well. I'm not a fan of it. When I tune into rugby league, I don't want to hear any about those politics. Just me personally. Like, when I turn on the TV, I usually watch on Fox League. I don't want to hear about any politics. I don't want to hear about
Do you watch 360?
Unfortunately, yeah. I do. I love the Matty John show. They always rip into it, so I always rip into it as well.
What's your thoughts on Buzz?
Sometimes I listened to him speak, and he's a smart. He's very intelligent. He does know what he's talking about a lot of the times. I think he does this on purpose, where he will go against the grain and disagree with what the majority does. I think he's clever. I think he does. I think he's very intentional
Yeah.
with what he says and how he says it. I think he's very intelligent.
Tell me, I'm in my mid 50s, and you're in your very early 20s. What do you think is the difference in terms of how I view rugby league and how you view rugby league? Or is rugby league, and it's like I said before, a great equaliser?
Mm.
We see the game the same. You're obviously a very passionate young man, which I'm glad to see.
I think we view it the same. I think we do. You hear a lot of these older players saying the game's not as tough anymore because of all these concussion rules. You hear stories about players in the 80s injured and they'll play it through. And they would say this generation, they're all about flashy, stepping like Benji Marshall type, Ponga type of players. But at the end of the day, I think rugby league at the core is still the same. I think it's still a tough game where we have those unique individual players. In the 80s, they had Peter Sterlo, where in 2010s, we had Durst, and now we have Cleary, Munster, those type of players. I think overall it stayed the same. There definitely are disagreements about how tough the game is. But you've seen the first 3 rounds, how
Best start I've
it's
seen to
amazing.
the season nearly all my life. I can't remember a start like this. But
It's amazing.
let me address the toughness.
Mm.
You know what? And my host in the Quick Hands podcast, Nico, he says the game's gone soft as well. But you know what?
But why though?
Throwing a punch
So it's the fighting aspect.
throwing a punch doesn't make you tough. Or throwing getting a punch and getting up doesn't make you tougher.
Mm.
Let me tell you, every time in today's game you tackle someone, okay, it's like a car crash. You're tackling between 110 and 130 kilo men, okay? Then you're getting up. You're going back in the line and doing it again. And guess what? If you're unlucky enough to do a dirty carry out of your quarter and get smashed, okay, some 120 kilo guy has lined you up and given you everything he's got. So I suggest the game is harder now. Guess what? And it's slowed down this year with all the stops, the captain challenges, etc. Okay, the game is so quick now. You can't breathe.
You have to be so fit
Yeah.
to play.
So-
Are you a fan of these new rules like the 6 again rule, the captain challenge? Obviously, we never had those.
Yeah. I like the captain's challenge. It does slow the game down.
It does.
I like look.
It's similar to NFLA and
Yeah.
basketball.
The only thing I don't like is the 7 tackle set when he goes out.
So
at
didn't
the
that
back.
only happen because the Cowboys were robbed that year and they introduced that?
It actually happened because, but Billy Slater,
Yeah.
or when he would carry the ball back, he would carve teams up. So you know what they used to do? They used to kick it out. They would come to the.
I don't know that.
They would come to the 20 and take a tap,
Mm.
and six tackles, but they would prefer to kick it out out the back than give Slater a chance to carry the ball back.
I guess it gives the halves less room for error because of that rule, the 7
Yeah,
tackle set.
I don't personally like the 7 tackle.
We like the 6 again rule where instead
I
of
don't-
calling a
look,
penalty,
Look, I don't mind it. It gets a little bit confusing. I actually believe there should be 2 referees, and I know it didn't work the first time, or we didn't give it a chance
so
to
when you were
work.
watching during the 80s, was it 1 or 2 referees?
One ref.
1, okay.
One ref.
So this isn't new, what we have right now.
Yeah, it's pretty new. We had one ref, and he would go. Well, we had 5 meters, not 10 like now.
Okay.
So we were right on them.
Yeah.
So you know how they play on the advantage line now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we would go back 5, and we're playing sort of the first pass comes back 5 meters or
Yeah.
comes back 3 meters, and we're playing shapes then. So the defense was always on top of us. The only difference is that you know how now the defense comes up in a straight line
Yeah.
and rushes. Okay, they would come up staggered back then because there was an emphasis on that much defense.
Well, you see clips from back in the day. It's
Yeah.
all
Staggered, yeah. And a coach called Warren Ryan for the Bulldogs, he sort of sorted out the defense in a straight line, and then he adjusted his defense to an umbrella defense.
Yeah.
So when the 5/8s and the halves were very good, what he will do is he'll get the outside backs to rush up,
Yeah.
and he'll try to force the ball back in. Because the Bulldogs then had a massive, big, bad pack, so he wanted to get into a grind fest. He wanted, you know, the kick and the kick, take it up, kick. He wanted, as I call it, the washing machine.
Yeah.
Back and forward, back and forward. But now things are advanced heaps for
Yeah, 'cause you've got all
defenses
these-
are so technical.
Yeah, there are all these advanced sciences. All these coaches, these scientists, they come in and they teach the proper techniques of how to do everything, the science behind it. It's actually very fascinating if you really look into it.
Yeah. Again, most people look at the game on the surface and look, it's there to enjoy. It's fantastic. You get psychos like yourself and me who actually, dig and try to find out why, how. Like when I told a friend of mine that everything has got a reason. He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, a carry is not just a carry. A carry is for a reason. We want to get out of our 15 or our bad ball, or I want you to go to that point over there so I can set up a play here. Everything's got to have a reason."
And you've seen that over the years.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. You've seen that over the years of like teams, for example, like Melbourne, the way they tackle people. To many people, they're just tackling. Melbourne, they invented the wrestling.
Yeah. Well, they do it the best. And thank God, 3/4 of the wrestling is out of the game at the moment.
Yeah.
That's why it's so clean and quick, because they're not wrestling that much.
And they'll call 6 again if they do.
Well, they call 6 again.
Yeah.
But if you really wanted to wrestle, you could really wrestle. And then everybody starts wrestling and it becomes a dog's breakfast. I mean, like a couple of years ago.
Coaches are very smart. They know how to bend the rules.
Of course they.
Yeah.
Their job is to get every advantage they can, and whatever advantage they can get, it's to their benefit. What I mean? So, tell me, what are you looking forward to this year?
Well, after the first 3 rounds, not the Tigers, so
You never know.
I'm not sure. I think this is going to be one of the most competitive years in a while, because there's a lot of top teams. Brisbane looking incredible.
Aren't they, man?
I think the Dolphins will slow down, but I think Broncos will stay out top. I think Cowboys will recover. I tipped Cowboys.
Where are we this week? Round 4? Round 4. Round 4. I'm putting it on record. I think the Brisbane Broncos will teach or will show the Dolphins, fins up, show the Dolphins where they're at. And I think they might win 13 plus.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos might win 13 plus.
But that wouldn't be a big deal towards the Dolphins, because no one expected them to be 3-0 in the first place.
Aren't they the story of the year so
They
far?
are so far.
How good is
And
it?
Bennett somehow put the pressure on him still. I'm not sure how.
I love it. You know what? They're playing perfect March football. Eliminate the mistakes and just go forward. And that's all you have to do in the first 6 rounds. After that, when everybody gets their time in, the weather gets cooler, everybody gets their time in.
Then it was
It's been a very unusual off-season, because everybody came back late from the World Cup.
Yeah.
They all had short pre-seasons. And what happened was, I know from Penrith, what happened was they had 4 weeks to get 3 months training in. So they've got to hit certain marks. So what they do is they build them up slowly over the off season. Okay. But they did everything intense. So they had 4 weeks. They flogged them apparently.
And that's why you get teams like Roosters and Penrith who did start a bit slower. But once you get to the midpoint of the season, they'll destroy any team. I said Penrith and Roosters in the grand final.
Really?
I stick by it. Yeah.
Who do you think I predicted for the grand final?
Bulldogs, Penrith.
No.
Rabbitohs, Penrith.
Rabbitohs, Cowboys.
No, fair Cowboys. I'm not sure. I love the Cowboys. They're my favourite team to watch. I love Todd Payton, ex-Tiger player.
Yeah.
Slow start so far, but it's
You know
not
what?
too sure.
In terms of the Cowboys, I didn't worry the first couple of weeks, but what's missing is their fabric or their DNA. The philosophy of their bases and their philosophy is their defense, and they've lost that.
They haven't had that at the start of the year.
And that worries me. But I'm not worried. It's round
the-
3.
yeah.
Round 6, then I'll start taking pot shots at people. The only team I really take pot shots is the Tigers. And the reason being is what I told you before off camera. The minute you put your hand out and get $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, well, I expect you to play at your best. And if they think that's individually their best, well, they're not first grade rugby league players.
Fair, yeah.
That's all.
I'm also.
No, I'm just saying that they're welcome to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning and come with me and go to work for a couple $100.
I think that's what
day.
they need. I think they need to toughen up. I think they need to be on the job site for a
Maybe
bit.
you're right, Jay. Maybe you're right.
But yeah, also I'm really looking forward to Origin. I think hopefully we can.
Origin.
I'm still annoyed that we lost last year.
Imagine this. One centre, Tommy. The other centre, Latrell. Okay. Fullback. What's his name? Yeah. Guess who's going to be on one wing? Sualili. Whatever. Sualili, whatever. Okay. And the other wing, the Fox. Okay. And we're going to have Nathan and Little Wine.
Surely we'll win.
That's unbelievable.
I think, but that's a great team. But however, I think we put Luke Brooks into number 7. No, I'm joking. Sorry.
Did you hear what I said last year? My thoughts on the Queensland Origin?
Nah, that's it.
When they're young, they get told a lie. They get told a lie that all New South Wales people hate them. Okay. They grow up and they believe that. You know, some of them come and play New South Wales, and at the front of their minds, they say, yeah, no, they're all good blokes. But for some reason, it's in their DNA. When they put that maroon jersey on, something happens to them.
They get possessed. You see it with Ponga. And I know you're not a fan of Ponga. I've watched the shows. But Ponga turns into one of the best players on the planet when he puts on that Queensland jersey.
Well, that's my issue with Ponga. How can you go and have a 5-star game on a Wednesday, go back on to your team on the Saturday or Sunday, and look like a broken car? That's
fair, but that's just my opinion. That's fair, but to be fair to him, there's multiple Queensland players who, especially last year, weren't performing well, but once they put the jersey on, they just outplayed us.
Agreed. The only issue with Ponga, I'll say it again, at 1.45, the highest paid player in the game,
captain.
Well, he's the highest paid in the game. So at 1.45 is a big chunk of your $10 million cap.
It's a 5-year contract as well, yeah.
A 5-year contract. You better produce, because I could have 3 workers for that money. More. I could have 3 guys who just do 40 tackles a game.
You can get Mark Nichols, those type of players.
Working
hard players, yeah.
So we're throwing all our money into one player. And you know what? At the moment, he's injured. He's got his HIA protocol. So I don't want to say that. And we've had a very small snippet of him. So I did go off at the start, but that was last year. Toilet Gate. I call him Toilet Boy. But let's see. And I want him to do well.
Yeah.
I want to watch good rugby league, and I hope to watch good rugby league. And he's someone who I enjoy. So,
well, once he comes back, I'm sure he'll do a lot better for that club. Newcastle need it. That's a rugby league town. They need a Newcastle.
Look, I can't believe that they pack the stadiums every week. they go and Newcastle dishes what they dish up to them. It's pretty.
One of my one of the people I work with, her kids are big Newcastle supporters. They live around Cecil as well, and they travel to Newcastle to watch the game.
Really?
Yeah, so their fan base, they're so passionate and just not getting rewarded for it.
Well, that's someone you should reward.
Yeah.
Last question before we go. What do you think of the Roosters and the cap situation?
Look, I think Roosters are. I think they're doing the right thing. I think they're very clever with their cap. They let go of players and they sign players. I think players look at that club and how well structured it is, and are willing to take less. And I think what players like Lodge have done. So I don't think they're doing anything sneaky or. Well, I haven't heard anything.
No, well, no one. With Pelage, Nick Pelage, you'll never hear anything.
Yeah, but no, they're just. It's a well-run club. It's similar to Melbourne and Penrith. You want to, as a player, you want to take a pay cut to learn under those the best coaches in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us, Jay. It was a great insight, and you know what I found out. I thought that you being a young man, you'd view rugby league different to how I view rugby league, but rugby league is rugby league, and I think we view rugby league nearly exactly the same.
I think so too.
We're both psychos about it. We both are very passionate. We both love it. We both know it intimately. And for a young man, I'll tell you now, I think I know about rugby league, and every time I hear some coaches talk, I know nothing about rugby league. But I reckon you know as much, if not more than me. So
No, I've learned a lot off you. Thank you very much.
I have you. Oh, gee.
I've learned so much.
Don't listen to me. But yeah, look, I enjoyed it. Thank you. You're our first guest on Off the Bench.
It's an honour.
And
Honestly, it's an honour.
just keep on enjoying rugby league.
Thank you very much. I'll try not to let the Tigers affect me as much. Thank you.
We're off, guys. This is the first episode from Off the Bench. Keep on listening, and we'll have some more content for you guys. Enjoy your rugby league. Bye bye.